Thank you for joining us again. So my name is Michelle, and I am the lead data scientist at OLSPS. And this is Damien. He is our lead developer.
All right.
So today we're going to take you through the OLSPS Statistical Interpreter. It's a tool that we've built over the last 2 years or so, and we're very proud and excited to share this with you. During this webinar, you will get to know how to use it and what it actually does. And by the end of this, you will know how to create your own free profile and how to get started with it. There's also at the bottom, as you probably have all already experienced, the Q&A section. If there's any questions you have, just type them in there and we'll go through them at the end of the webinar. There's also a poll. I've already launched it, and I see a couple of you have already filled that out. We'll very much appreciate it if everyone can put in their votes. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the video and hop over to the slides again. Okay, so before we dive into the details, you may be wondering who or what OLSPS is. We are a company that has been around for many years, probably at least 3 decades. And during this time, we have really become a veteran in the predictive analytics space. We've worked on many fascinating projects in a variety of industries. We've built models for fraud detection, sentiment analysis, and trend prediction, amongst others. Our work within the insurance industry was specifically recognized by IBM. We won the Best Predictive Analytical Company Award in Africa and the Middle East. So that's something that we're very proud of. And of course, beyond building our predictive solutions, we're also a software house where we focus on building software or technologies for the fishing industry. Specifically, we build e-logging software. Finally, we're also a software reseller. We are the IBM Gold Business Partner. So we sell a wide range of software offered by IBM at very competitive prices. So that gives you a very good general idea or general overview of the company. However, today we're going to focus on SI, which is a tool integrated into IBM SPSS Statistics. So SPSS is a very powerful software used for predominantly quantitative analysis. So you may know it. It is a software that's continuously being upgraded with new features. And I'm going to assume that you all have some level of similarity with the software. And if not, it's a very, very easy tool to get up to speed with, as it's got a very easy to use interface with point and clicks. So let's just go over to the software quickly. There we go. So this is the software, and I have already loaded a data file that contains data that a bank would typically use to assess someone's creditworthiness. Obviously, this is dummy data. We would never share real data, so this was created for demo purposes. So let's quickly run a very simple t-test analysis before we get started. So let's, hypothetically, we want to see whether the household income in thousands is greater or is similar to 45,000 Rand. So because everything is in thousands, we just enter the number 45 here, click OK. So the beauty of SPSS is that running these sorts of analyses takes just a couple of seconds. And here are the results. This may look very impressive to someone with a stats degree. However, for the majority of users, these numbers may just seem very daunting. So if you look at the first table, the first 2 columns are quite intuitive. N is number of observations, and the mean is the mean of the population. But as you move along these columns, it becomes increasingly tricky to interpret the numbers. Not everyone can interpret these results and contextualize these numbers. So this is obviously a stumbling block for most SPSS users. And this is exactly where OLSPS SI comes to the rescue. It's essentially a reporting tool that converts complex test output results into very structured and easy to read interpretations. So this makes the results more accessible, it reduces report preparation time, and depending on what you're using these results for, it can also support business decisions. So the tool is really there to help users gain insights from the data, and specifically insights from the results of their analysis. So where is this tool? We're going to get to that in a minute, but before we go into the details of it, I just want to show you a high-level process overview of how it works. And let me just go back to the presentation again. We're going to be switching between screens quite a bit during this webinar. So anyone who wants to access the tool would first need to navigate themselves to the website, which is si.olsps.com, and create themselves a free profile. There's a lot of useful information within the profile, and we'll get to that in a minute. We'll actually take you through how to create a profile. But from within the profile, you can access the tool installer, and you can download it, and a simple double click on the installer will do the trick. And it automatically installs itself into SPSS. Then a user would go over to the IBM page, run an analysis, and then take the tool from a Dropbox from the active viewer screen. So this will automatically open up a web browser, your new browser, access the report in a Word document format, and the other would be to view the HTML version of it. So the report process, the process of the report generation is relatively quick. It usually would take a couple of seconds, but sometimes it would take up to maybe half a minute if your analysis is somewhat more substantial. So let's go over to the website and do exactly that. So let's just hit in the URL, si.olsps.com. So here's the landing page. It just gives a little bit of information of what the tool is and what it does. Let's just take you through this a little bit. Here's an example of how it works. So this is an example of the ANOVA output, and this is an example of the report that SI would deliver back to you. So our pricing structure is a little bit novel. Once you sign up, you will have access or immediate access to two analyses, the t-test and the frequency interpretation. And this will be free for everyone for a lifetime. But beyond that, this tool obviously has more functionality, and then for that extended functionality, you'll have to pay. But we are employing a pay what you can model, mainly because we don't know what we should be charging for a report, which is why in the poll we have a question addressing exactly that issue. But there is a minimum price of 10 cents or $10 per report. So this is how you sign up. It's just a quick email address and your password, and your profile would have been created. So SI is still quite new, and these are the routines that are currently available. So we have partial correlations, a couple under the means tab, and a couple under the descriptive tab. And as time goes on, we do plan to push new analyses live, and as they do become live, we will update these tables respectively. Each routine also has a limitation attached to it. So if you're running means, you can only do one dependent variable and one layer variable. Other routines have no limitation. So you just need to come back and check these results, or come back and check these tables prior to running an analysis. Okay, so I'm not going to go through the sign-up now with you because it's pretty basic. But once you put in your email address and your password, click submit, a verification email will be sent to you just to verify the account. It's fairly standard. So let's log in. I'll log in as myself first. So this is the user profile. On the landing page, you'll have some counters, and this basically tells you how many reports you have left of the purchase report. just neglect to mention to you on the landing page of SI that you do have a organization profile option as well, but we'll explain that to you later, and that's what this line is about. So Xero has been allocated to you by the OLSPS bank. Just as a disclaimer, there is no OLSPS bank, that's just for demo purposes. But when we get to the organization section, Damien will take you through all of that. So on your user landing page, you have the same information. And then at the bottom, you have the SI news. So whenever an article gets written or extended functionality gets added, a bit of news blast will come through to your news feed over here. So going on to the next tab is your profile. This is pretty standard. Here you can update your name, your surname, the country and industry. It's not compulsory, but it's very useful for us to have that information. There's a run history tab, and this tells you, or basically just gives you a glimpse into your transaction, not in terms of monetary transactions, but in terms of how you've used the tool within SPSS. Here's your update password, pretty standard, old password and new password. The organization details. So in this case, I'm a user who's part of an organization. We'll get back to the details of this later. But if you're not part of an organization, then this tab will not be present in your user profile. And finally, the delete profile tab. If you delete yourself here, it's a hard delete. You don't keep any data. So this is the installer tab, and this is probably where you want to navigate to first after creating your self profile. So this is where you download the SI tool and install it. So these are the instructions. If you scroll down, these are the downloads. So you'll see there are two here. One installer has been created for version 25 of SPSS, and the other one is for version 26. The version 25 is a lesser offering. It only has 4 analyses associated with it, whereas version 26 is obviously it's new and it's current. We are forever increasing and broadening the scope of SI to become more compatible with version 26. So if you just click on the download, it downloads automatically. It takes a couple of seconds because it's quite small, actually, it's only 10 megabytes. When you click download installer from your profile, it will automatically send an email to you, to the email address that you provided on sign up, with a license code for it. So that license code is what you need to insert into the installer. So you click run. And another interesting point is that you can download multiple installers, and then you'll have multiple licenses, which will all be linked to your account. So here's a little description. It says we'll only install Statistical Interpreter extension. And this is where you put your license key that has been emailed to you. I'm not going to do this because I already have it installed on my computer. I'm just going to cancel this. And I'm going to navigate back to SPSS. So here we are. So now we have installed the SI tool, and we're at the same point as what we arrived to earlier. We're feeling a bit confused about the numbers. We don't know whether the mean of this population is in fact 45 or not. So what we do, we go to utilities and we select OLSPS Statistical Interpreter. You'll notice I have 2 here. The top one, the client version, is for our clients. When I say clients, I mean people who have bought the software, the SPSS software from us directly, and they have access to more free analyses, basically. In order to receive that download, you can contact us and we'll send you a link. But this is the one that was downloaded from your profile. So you just click on that, pops up, tells you a little bit of information. It tells you again that all frequencies and t-test reports are free. It gives you the email, the website again. And if you have any questions, you can always email us at sihelp@olsps.com. Okay, just click OK. The browser will automatically open, and a little robot will be waiting for your report. And there we go, we have success. So here you're presented with two options. The first option is to download it, download a Word document, or to preview it. These links will be live for 2 hours after running the analysis. After that, we delete the information associated. So let's preview it. So that just opens an HTML with the document in it. Just note that this HTML is not automatically downloaded to your local machine. You need to save it if you want to keep it. So here's the analysis, or the report of the analysis. And let me show you the Word document. And there you have it. So you can see it's a very well-structured document. It has time stamp at the top, it has our logo, a little introduction, it gives you a summary of the analysis, and then after the summary, it will go through each table presented in the Outlook viewer and interpret it column by column. So that tells you the end, the means, and the deviation. So it goes through every single statistic available, gives you the definition and how to interpret it. And then finally, we would always end off with some conclusion or some main findings section, telling you whether, well, giving you a summary of the conclusion of your report. Okay, so that is the free version of SI. Now, if you want to run an analysis that isn't within, well, it isn't frequencies or t-tests, and you want to use a paid analysis, then you'll have to go to the Purchase tab. You click Purchase, and here is where you can make that transaction. So, as I told you before, it's a pay what you can model. So here, take the slider all the way down to the left. The minimum price is $1 for 10 reports, so it averages out to about 10 cents per report. But if you're feeling more generous or you feel like it's worth more than that, you can increase it to whatever price you feel more comfortable paying. So once you've selected the number, well, the price that you want to pay for the 10 reports, you click Purchase. So we're using a payment gateway called Stripe. So we don't store any of your credit card details with us. It's completely third party. And you just hit pay. I'm obviously not going to do it now, but that's just how it works. Alternatively, if you have a coupon, for whatever reason, we'll send you a coupon code. You say, yes, I have the coupon. And let me just bring up my coupon here. Here's our coupon code. That wouldn't necessarily be sent to you in the format of a notepad document. It will be sent to you by email. If you put it in there, submit. Coupon activation successful. Awesome. So going back to the home page, you recall when we first landed on here, we had 0, and now we have 10 reports left. Okay, so now let's go back to SPSS and run another analysis. Let's try the one-way ANOVA. So the age of years, the factor variable. Okay, well, that's actually a very simple one. We could make it more easy, but for demonstration purposes, this should be fine. Okay, so now we have an ANOVA, which is going to be a paid report. Sorry, I'm probably confusing you by doing that. So then we hit utilities. You click OLSPS Statistical Interpreter again. Click OK. Cool. So like that. So again, it's the same option. It's just preview it instead of downloading it this time. There you have it. So with the ANOVA, it is a more substantial analysis than the t-test. So we do have, well, for the more substantial analysis and where it makes sense, we usually put in a main finding section that is just like an executive summary of the analysis that we carried out. In some cases, we also put in data considerations of things you need to be aware of before running the analysis. So yeah, it's far more document. And also, we sometimes have a section at the end where we have recommendations. So maybe something happened in your analysis and we could tweak it one way or another. We would recommend the way forward up with your data project. These reports can get quite lengthy. The linear regression I'm currently working on, depending on what options you put in there, it can go up to about 18 pages long. So the report length is very variable, but it also very much depends on what analysis you put through and how many tables that analysis has. Okay, so I think that almost concludes. Almost concludes what we're doing. So again, my counter hasn't refreshed. So it should go down one, so it'll be ANOVA. So there we go, we have 9 reports left. Okay, so the last tab in here is the help tab. So in here, it gives you a little how-to. I'm not going to go through this because I actually have already done that throughout this webinar on how to run and access the report. Below that, you have the frequently asked questions. So if you have any questions that are exactly in line with these ones already written, you can just click on it and get the information below. And there's also some troubleshooting. So if you have any errors thrown at you from SI, there are a couple of errors that are standard. Beyond that, if you have any issues, you can always just email us at sihelp@olsps.com. Okay, so I think that concludes the user profile. I'm going to hand you over to Damien, who will take you through the organization.
Okay, so our second offering is SI for Organization. This is aimed at an organization such as a company or a faculty that has a number of users using SPSS within it. It must be noted that an organization profile cannot run routines itself. It's merely just a vehicle for the distribution of purchased reports. So the process is fairly simple. Create an organization profile, invite your users, distribute reports, and repeat. Okay, well, the sign-up process, I will get there now. The payment method is slightly different. The pricing structure is slightly different. Here we've gone for more of the more you buy, the better the offering. A bulk purchase model, if you will. So starting from $299 for 100 reports and moving all the way up. And as you see, the more you buy, the less you pay per report. The sign-up is very similar to the user sign-up. The only difference is that you also need to supply an organization name. we've already done this, so we'll go straight into our profile. Cool. So this is our profile. Unfortunately, you do not get 100 reports straight up. We've pre-allocated 100 reports to just speed things along. Again, you see the SI news on your landing page. And then, as you can see, it's slightly different up here. Looking at your organization profile tab, again, you have the option of name, telephone, and industry. Not necessary to fill these out, but very helpful to us. There's also the option to subscribe or unsubscribe to our mailing list, which we'll send out very infrequently, so we won't bother you. Just to update you on anything happening within the SI world. Admin management. So any organization profile can have multiple admins. An admin for an organization cannot also be a user. They need to be separate. So if we want to add, put in their email address, put in their password, and they will receive an email saying they've been added as an admin, but the email will not contain their password for security reasons. It's up to the admin that's already been assigned to then pass on that password. You can also remove any admins, but please note that if you remove all admins, that's the same as permanent deletion of the organization, which I'll get to now. Over here. Now, updating password is a similar process as you saw on the user profile. And then delete organization profile. This is a full delete of the organization's profile, not just an admin, but all organization data is removed from our database. Not the actual users, they just get unallocated your organization, but yeah, just make sure you know what you're doing if you're going to click here. Onto the user management. So here's where you deal with your users. The first tab gives you an update of all your active users. So here, our organization, which we have called OLSPS Bank, which doesn't exist, just for this demo. We currently have 2 active users and 1 pending user. A pending user is someone who has been invited to join the organization but just hasn't confirmed yet. There's the option to resend the invite if you really want them to add themselves soon. As you can see, we also haven't given anyone reports yet because they have to earn them, you know. User management, here is where you can add your users. You can either add them email by email or in a bulk CSV file. Please download the template, as it will only recognize the template we provide, but it's pretty standard and easy to do. You can also then remove any users you don't want on your profile anymore. When you remove a user, any reports allocated to them will be recouped by the organization, so you won't lose out on any purchase reports there. Now, a slightly more interesting tab is the Allocation tab. So we currently have 100 reports available to allocate to our active users. There are 3 methods with which to do this. There's a select, threshold, and all. On the select method, Lindy deserves 5 reports. So we are allocating a total of 5 out of our 100 available to Lindy allocate. Yeah. So if you go back to your view users, let me refresh. Lindy now has 5 reports. If, for example, we want to just top up any users with a low number, so for example, we want to allocate 5 to everyone who has fewer than 5. Sorry, fewer than 4. Sorry. So if you remember from our view users, Lindy has 5, so she doesn't fall into the threshold, but Michelle only has 0. So she does fall under the threshold, and so she will receive 5 as allocated. 5 reports successfully allocated, do a refresh, and now Michelle and Lindy both have 5. The last method is to just give everyone, we're feeling very generous, 5 to all. So we've got 2 active users, they both receive 5, and so 10 total. If, for example, you go over your limit, so we've only got 90, so let's say we want to give everyone 50, this turns red, cannot do it, and you'll just be told no. We've already gone through the purchasing model. It's, as I explained before, again, we use Stripe for all purchases. And again, we could issue a coupon code if you're lucky. The help section is a lot more trimmed down, as I don't feel there's as many questions that you need to know. It's a much more simple offering, the organization. But again, anything you may not understand is hopefully answered here with the same troubleshooting options as before. So that's everything within the organization profile. I will hand you back over to Michelle for concluding remarks.
Well, thank you, everyone. So we basically finished with the presentation. Just turn our slide. There we go. So what's next? Of course, we encourage you all to go over to the SI website, sign yourself up, try it out. It is free, so why not? You can also sign up for our newsletter and keep in touch, because we will be extending that functionality going forward. I think what I'll do now before we sign off is just have a quick look at any question and answers. Are all these reports backed by someone with a doctorate in statistics? Yes, I am a BSc in statistics, but we also have an actuary and a master's in statistics looking at these reports, and it does get circulated through a number of undergraduates as well. So just so you know, the process is quite a long and lengthy process before we come up with the final product, or final product being a fully written and vetted report. It first gets written by one student, it gets vetted by another student, it goes back to a third student, it goes through about 6 different students. Once that's happened, it comes back to us in-house. Then it's myself and at least 3 or 4 other people with various degrees in statistics that read it, and then finally we also have a doctorate in statistics that also reads through it. I hope that answers that question. Other than that, I really would encourage all of you to participate in the poll. I think we always have anyway, so I'm going to end the polling now. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us and get in touch.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.